just real quick with you just to clear up any confusion. So when you click on the first link, you're going to go to real GDP, or you could look it up. You can go to, let's say, gross domestic product here, and you can search it. It's going to come up with these different tables here. We're going to click on gross domestic product. You're going to be clicking on this 10Y here. This will give you the data from the past 10 years. So this is the gross domestic product for the past 10 years. We are now going to be editing this graph. We're going to add in the real GDP, okay, and add data series. So I'll do that again. All I did was I went to edit graph and it pulled up this. I would add a line, go to add data series, real GDP. I would click on it and I would say add data series. Okay. The next one we're going to be adding is, go back here, add a line. We're now going to be doing population. So just click on this first one here, add data series. You're going to make sure that this says thousands, says quarterly. That's very important. We want that to be quarterly frequency. Remember, quarterly is 3 months, and we also want to make sure that our GDPs are quarterly as well. Okay. So now that we have those 3 lines there, we're going to go back here. We're going to make sure we have 10 years. Looks like we need to click this button again. So we have our 10 years data. We need to download. Go to Excel. If you don't have Excel, you can do CSV. And then it's going to pull up the data over here. Okay. So in terms of the assignment, right here, we would have to write out some different formulas here. So what I want to do is I want to go to E13, and this is where I want to write out the GDP deflator. And remember, the GDP deflator is going to be the nominal GDP divided by the real GDP multiplied by 100. So this one right here, this GDPC1, that's the real GDP, and this GDP is the nominal GDP. So you're going to hit equals, parentheses, right here, divided by this times 100. And there you go, that's the GDP deflator. What you're doing here is you're saying, hey, Excel, I want to do that number divided by that number times 100. And there we go. So that's how you calculate GDP deflator. If you want to change these up to, say, real GDP, you're more than welcome to. Okay. So now the next one we want to do is economic growth. Remember when we were talking about economic growth, that is the difference in the real GDP, the percent change. So what you do here is we're going to skip the first one, and you're going to go parentheses. You're going to go new minus old. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing the nominal GDP. So you're going to go parentheses, real GDP minus old real GDP divided by the old real GDP. So notice here that this blue one here, that's for the July, so the second quarter, or the third quarter. So we would do that minus the previous quarter. So just go 1 up, and then we're going to divide by the old. And that will be your economic growth. You're more than welcome to change this into a percent. I highly encourage that with 2 decimal places. The next one we're going to do is the GDP per capita. So for this one, remember, it's the real GDP divided by the population. This population is in thousands. So what we have to do here is we have to make a small correction to make sure this matches up correctly, because our real GDP is in billions of dollars and our population's in thousands of dollars. So they're not matching up in terms of units. So we're going to make them match up. All we're going to do is do divided by, so we do C14 divided by parentheses D14 divided by 100,000. So if you count here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros and a 1. Okay, so that should be 1,000,000. Okay. And there we go. And you're more than welcome to change this to a $sign to get our GDP per capita. If you were to go back to the GDP deflator and hit Command D or Control D, what this is going to do is copy that formula just directly down. So this will give you the GDP deflator for the next period. If you were to do the same thing for the GDP per capita, it's doing the same thing. You're doing the GDP divided by the population. Now what you can also do is highlight all of these. You see that green box there? When my arrows turn, when my crosshairs turn black, that means I can click and I can drag all the way down. So this will copy the entire formula all the way down. So if I go to this one, I'm still doing the nominal GDP divided by the real GDP times 100. So the formula stays the same, but this is my new GDP deflator. Okay? And the same things are going to happen with the economic growth. Right? So this is how you collect the data from Fred, put it into Excel, and this is how you can calculate the GDP deflator, economic growth, and the GDP per capita. Okay? Make sure your graph looks, your Excel file looks something like this. Okay? The next part of this assignment is that you have a couple questions. So on A60, this is where you should put your answer. So answer for number 1. Okay. So, and then the other questions just keep going down. The more you write out something, it's just going to overlap like this. So you can see what you're typing here. And then when you hit enter, your answer will pop up like that. Okay. So if there was a question number 2, you should be answer number 2. And then you can write out your answer here. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But again, it should look something like this. And the assignment has all these steps written out for you. All right. You have a good day.